Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope you guys are having a great evening. We have some news on the Mike McCarthy gate situation, where yesterday you may remember that Jory Epstein ended up doing an interview with Dak Prescott of about 3 minutes, and he gave full support to Mike McCarthy and said that he deserves an opportunity to get another contract, as well as have more say into what goes on with the team. Now, of course, a lot of people went through and said, how about we get rid of both you mother humpers and start all over? Be that as it may, Mike McCarthy, and according to the Dallas Morning News, I want to bring this article up that just came across the waiver wire about Mike McCarthy responding to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott expressed his wholehearted support of Mike McCarthy in an interview with Yahoo Sports earlier this week. It was yesterday. The quarterback maintained McCarthy, who is in the final year of his deal, deserves another chance to return to the Cowboys with more influence. McCarthy obviously appreciates the support, and what about Prescott's assertion that he should be allowed to return to the coach on his terms? I think this is Mike McCarthy's quote, I think it's like any job, and this one specifically, I have a clear understanding of the responsibilities, McCarthy said. This is the most input I've ever been part of as a head coach in personnel, particularly in the draft. We spent a tremendous amount of time as a coaching staff on the draft selection, preparation process. It's difficult to try and give you a good answer comparing to my past. Prescott is out, of course, for a number of reasons this season after the surgery and so on. So, Mike McCarthy went on to say, I'm not sure exactly what he exactly has said, but it's just like anything, McCarthy said. We are in year 5 of a program. We have a lot of excellent things in place. I think we have some things we can do better, and I think it's all part of growing. It's no different than the way I felt in year 5 or 6 in my last opportunity. So there you have it. Interesting. Mike McCarthy hadn't heard the exact quote, so to say, but, he appreciates that and thinks, hey, we got things in place that should work and so on. He kind of threw Jerry a bone here because he went through and said, he tried to go through and he's taking the responsibility off of Jerry. You understand this, right? He says, here, I've had more control and input than anywhere else. So when Dak says he should have more influence and input on it and things like that, Mike McCarthy becomes through and said, yeah, I want more power. Jerry Jones, who is all about the optics, is not going to want to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to bring him back so he can have more control that I screwed up. Nah. See, Mike McCarthy just took the bullet for Jerry and Stephen Jones and basically saying, I've got a lot of input on it. If you want to look at it and say, I'll take the bullet. I'll take the blame. Jerry Jones, they find people. I'm dancing, boss. I'm dancing for you. I'm dancing, boss. Okay? I'm dancing. Okay? And I think that actually bodes well because, see, Jerry wants to have a fall person. Jerry doesn't want to look in the mirror and say, I screwed the pooch. No, Jerry don't want to do that. He don't want to say he screwed the pooch. He going to want somebody else to take responsibility. So we see how the game is being played. Dak Prescott does the dirty work and says, hey, we need him back. We need more control. Mike McCarthy, oh, boss, hey, I'm shaking it, boss. I'm shaking it. And Dak, of course, wants what he wants. And I say Dak wants to bring back Mike McCarthy because what you got with Mike McCarthy. You know what you got with Mike McCarthy. You've been in an offense that's actually been pretty good for you thus far in your career. And change is not always good. And see, when you're an older person, you don't like a lot of change. And this is where you look at it and say, okay, if we can get Jerry on board with bringing back Mike McCarthy, and he's already made the investment in me and CD. Why don't we try and get this thing won? You got the guy who, the bottom line with Jerry is he wants a coach that he can run over. He can go through after we lose to Green Bay and say, I'm still pissed off about Green Bay. And not have to worry about Mike McCarthy going to his office and saying, shut the F up, challenging him. And by him basically falling on the sword for the issues for the Cowboys, Jerry will say, well, shit, he's towing the company line. He's my puppet. He'll do what I want him to do. Does it work? I don't know. Will it be a disaster bringing them back? I don't know. But I think, I was asked this question on the Dan Saleo show, and they said, do you bring back Mike McCarthy? Football is crazy because if you look at our time in past years, forget about the Cowboys right now, but you think about the Cowboys with Jason Garrett. He took over after, we had a great season with Wade Phillips that didn't lead to playoff success. They come back, they fall on their face for no rhyme or reason. He gets fired in the middle of the season. You bring in Jason Garrett. Well, Jason Garrett, for his first 3 years, it was 8-8, 8-8, 8-8. The triples I don't want to repeat. And then he had 2014, boom, playoff. Tony Romo gets hurt, 4-12. 4-12. He won one game without a starting quarterback. So when you look at this right now, you kind of say, well, Mike McCarthy's won 2 games now without a starting quarterback and actually has you possibly in the playoff chase. So you look at this and say, he ain't done any worse than Jason Garrett did. Jason Garrett had 3 years of 8-8 and 4-12. This one, maybe it ends up being 8-9. Not the worst season, of his career. I mean, worst season that we've had after 3 years of 12-5. So we went from 12-4 to 4-12, and then we get Dak Prescott and we go 13-3. So maybe, just maybe, this is the same thing that'll happen. We'll have more draft picks for next year. You've got cap space. You've got some studs, and you're finding some young ones now to fill in. Maybe you end up having a great draft, and you get a few free agents, a few ringers, and maybe you can make a big run. Is it crazy? Maybe. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, good people. I've got some salmon in there cooking for the wife for when she gets back from the hospital, and I've got to change the light switch, put a dimmer in for the Christmas stuff because, Christmas is not that far away. Peace, people.